So I've got a confession to make. Today I sacked off testing to go and watch something called Drive to Survive. Don't judge me. Netflix told me to go and do it. And you know what? I'm not sorry. Because Netflix Drive to Survive, the 2 episodes that I watched was infinitely more interesting than testing. Because of course, in the day that was testing day 3, Max Verstappen dominated, all except for the fact that Charles Leclerc put on the ultra quick tyres that we're not even going to use at the Bahrain Grand Prix, the C5s, and topped the timing charts. But we know what time it is already, for the avoidance of doubt. Max is going to nail the next 12 months, if not the next 24. So I wanted to seek out something different, and I say once again, Netflix told me to do it, and why not? Now, F1 diehards will say, how very dare you go and ingest the crack cocaine form of F1? Why don't you just watch quali and free practice 1, 2 and 3 and then a full race on the Sunday? Well, I will watch those as well. I'm not going anywhere. This isn't an either or choice. Netflix and the Grand Prix aren't mutually exclusive. I can do both. And this harks back to the way I characterise myself as an F1 fan. I'm a part-time diehard, part-time casuals. Oh, well, revoke Cameron's F1 card. He's not a diehard. He watches Drive to Survive. Shame on him, they will say. And I'm not fussed. But I think this speaks to a deep-rooted problem that F1 has. Hence why a lot of people are only going to watch Drive to Survive. And here it is. F1 isn't F1ing enough. Let me explain to you what I mean. As far as content, I don't want to watch Lewis Hamilton rock up in Gucci or Prada. Those photos don't interest me. I don't want to see what these guys are doing on their summer holiday. And I'm not going to listen to Charles Leclerc's album. I don't care for that. I want to see these guys in their natural habitat, being natural, talking about F1, the cars, the technology, their issues that they need to solve for. And Drive to Survive does that, where F1 and Liberty Media haven't even conceived of it. It's a shambles to think that but for Netflix, all of this footage would be on the cutting room floor. We would never have seen it. I want to spend time with the drivers, interacting, bantering, and that's where Leap of Faith episode 6 kicks off. The episode deals with Lewis Hamilton, the signing fiasco, the fact that he ends up at Ferrari, Mercedes and their design philosophy issues, and it was brilliant. The opening scene sees teammates Lewis Hamilton and George Russell bantering on set, being natural, talking, swearing. Lewis says, I'm old, I can't be up this early like you young whippersnappers. George responds, that's why you get paid the big bucks. Lewis responds, I would exchange that for a couple hours more sleep. It's brilliant, natural banter. Where else do you get to see that from these drivers? The answer is you don't, and this is why Drive to Survive is so brilliant. For it humanises the drivers, the principal assets of the sport that is F1, in a way that Liberty Media can't even conceive of, let alone execute. Yeah, I said it, humanity is what F1 of 2024 lacks and what Netflix absolutely delivers on. That's why so many people watch this thing. F1, as we know, is too bloody busy being straight-laced and buttoned up white shirt to even realise this is what's going on. That this is what F1 fans have been crying out for the longest now. I mean, you get the footage of Lewis being a bit bossy, being himself, telling the production crew to hurry up, stop with this dilly-dallying. I've got things to do, places to go, people to see. Now, the double entendre here, of course, is whether Lewis is talking to the production crew or is his super ego talking to Mercedes. I've got places to go, people to see, championships to win. The response to which is a clever piece of editing where the production manager is telling Lewis and George to stop driving, get back in your places, get back into your position on set or at Mercedes. Subliminal settings. Then DTS pans out to Monaco, and you'll remember the circumstances around which they brought this massive upgrade. They'd been pursuing the wrong design philosophy for as near as makes no difference 16 months, and then at Monaco this was going to be the shift. They were going to bring an upgrade that was going to fix for this. We were going to get side pods. And at that Grand Prix, Netflix shows us the very poignant footage of Lewis saying that he feels helpless, unable to win the 8th that was promised. Super sad this. Because as we know, even after the upgrades in Monaco, that car was still rubbish. And this is the beauty of DTS, because it's playing to a circumstance, a context, the outcome of which we already know. Cut to Alonso talking about the success that his move to Aston Martin has given him. And that's cool in isolation, but it's not like Fernie hasn't made mistakes. Please see McLaren and Renault the second time round. But of course, DTS's editor shows this in the context of Lewis second guessing himself, in the context of Lewis's indecision and the now protracted Mercedes contract negotiations. The insinuation, of course, being that's why Lewis Hamilton felt helpless. He could only look across the way at Aston Martin and Fernando Alonso's success, green with envy. Oh, and then we get the really good stuff. No fashion pixel summer holidays, no mention of Charles Leclerc's music album. We get the proper stuff, footage and audio of Lewis, George and Mercedes engineers post-morteming, talking about what was wrong with the car. Lewis talks about instability. George similarly, that he keeps losing the rear. It's bouncing, unstable on turning. And then of course you get the money shot, the coup de grace, where Lewis says that he told them, I warned them that this is the wrong design philosophy tree to bark up. But of course Lewis says, they didn't listen to me. Oh, the humanity. This is now a tragedy of Shakespearean proportions playing out before Netflix's cameras. How Max and Bernie weren't weaponizing, no monetizing this sort of stuff yonks before Netflix came along, I'll never understand. Because this is money. This is how you grow a sport. And then the episode reels us back in to the personal, as we see a troubled Toto Wolff trying to reconcile himself with the failure of the past 2 years with his wife Susie and son Jack. Toto appears vulnerable here in his natural habitat. You don't get to see this on a race weekend. This is family man, husband, father Toto Wolff. And what stood out to me here is the pain that Toto feels when facing down his failure, because fundamentally at core he's a winner. You hear the Wolffs conversing about the protracted negotiation with Lewis, to which Susie responds, listen, if he signs, it was meant to be. The episode crescendos in a face-to-face meeting between Toto and Lewis. Lewis adorned in red trousers and a Mercedes top. Toto's demeanour during this meeting is apologetic almost. They talk about how the biggest mistake that they made was rolling forward the design philosophy from 22 into 23. We see Toto Wolff's reaction to their best result of the year, a second and a third for Lewis and George respectively, and Toto tries to look happy. Notably, he asks a colleague whether they should take a photo to celebrate their double podium. Nah, says the colleague, let's not lower our standards. Team photos for victories only. If you ask me, it's brilliant filmmaking, not least because this is footage that as F1 fans we will have never seen before. It's news and it's friction and it's stakes. They're filling in the gaps that F1 and Liberty Media should have plugged ages ago. And I salute Netflix for doing that. Yeah, it's bubblegum F1 they may say, but for me to go down that gatekeeping intellectual snobbery path is to do the same thing to Netflix Drive to Survive that F1's been doing to us. And I won't do that. The end of the episode crescendos in Lewis flying away. He signed the contract now. And everybody lives happily ever after.